Are you new to Dead by Daylight? Are you lost to the fog when it comes to all the terms you hear other players and YouTubers using? I'm gonna 99 the exit gates to avoid triggering the endgame collapse, which should buy us time to cleanse NOED so that we don't get exposed. Looks like the killer is tunneling you, so you're gonna need to loop him at Killer Shack using a well-timed dead hard, and to make sure to mind game him at the God Pallet because you're on death hook. I'm so dead. Well, hey YouTube, it's A. Roberts. With the sudden influx of new players now that the game has launched on the Epic Games Store, I figured I'd put together this quick video defining some of the most frequently used terms in Dead by Daylight that you may not know if you're brand new to the game. The Dead by Daylight community uses a lot of terms and abbreviations that aren't used in a lot of other games, so it can be kind of overwhelming to new players when they first start out. Timestamps will be in the description, so if you're looking for a specific term, you can jump right to it. And if you think I've missed any terms, feel free to put them down in the comments below so that I can help out others who are watching. Let's get started. Trial is DBD's term for a match. Gen Rush, when survivors use a combination of perks and add-ons to quickly and efficiently complete multiple generators in a short period of time, or something killers arbitrarily shout into the fog to make themselves feel better after they spent too long in a chase and allowed the 3 other survivors several minutes of uninterrupted time to work on generators. You know who you are. A survivor on death hook is one who's already been hooked twice, and the next hook state will result in them being sacrificed to the entity and removed from the trial. The healthy state is the starting uninjured state of survivors at the beginning of the trial. Once injured, survivors can use a variety of healing methods to return to the healthy state. The injured state results when the killer has struck a survivor once, causing them to moan in pain and leave a trail of blood behind them, helping the killer to track their location more efficiently. The dying state, generally speaking, results when a killer strikes an injured survivor, knocking them to the ground and leaving them vulnerable to be picked up by the killer and then transferred to a hook. Healthy survivors that are exposed are able to be put into the dying state immediately when struck by the killer, bypassing the injured state completely. An Exhaustion Perk is a survivor perk that when used results in the exhausted status effect. The exhausted status effect prevents the use of any other exhaustion perks for a limited time, thereby stopping the chaining of these potent perks together. This refers to the strategy of leaving the exit gates at 99% completion so as to not trigger the endgame collapse and buy more time to rescue survivors from the hook or to get everybody out to an exit. The endgame collapse is triggered when the exit gates are opened or the hatch is shut, and this begins a timer to the end of the trial. Once the timer expires, all survivors remaining in the trial are immediately killed by the entity. When there's one survivor left alive in the trial, the hatch will spawn at a random location predetermined at the start of the match. This provides a second means of escape for the final survivor. The hatch can be closed by the killer, which will instantly trigger the endgame collapse. Spawning on outdoor maps, the Killer Shack consists of a building with 2 doors, 1 window, and 1 God Pallet, and it is generally an optimal place for survivors to loop killers. The basement can often spawn in Killer Shack, and the hatch can also spawn near it. God Pallet, a pallet that when dropped forces the killer to either break chase or break the pallet to continue the chase. This is also the best pallet to burn if you're not in chase, to make your entire team hate you and leave you on the hook for the rest of the trial. Looping, the process of leading the killer around obstacles, through windows, etc. to slow down their pursuit and buy time for other survivors to work on generators. Terror radius, this refers to the area around the killer's location that is indicated to survivors by the sound of a heartbeat. Teabag, to crouch repeatedly up and down to demonstrate your clear dominance. 3-gen. This is a scenario favorable to the killer that results when the final 3 generators are in close proximity to each other, and allows the killer to quickly patrol them, thereby preventing them from being repaired. A 1K, 2K, 3K, or 4K. This is the number of sacrifices or kills that a killer completes during the trial. Example, a 4K would be 4 kills or 4 sacrifices. Tunneling. This occurs when a killer focuses or tunnels on a specific survivor more than or to the exclusion of others, often in an attempt to get an early sacrifice. This is also a great way to draw out salt from survivors. Salty. Face camping occurs when the killer stands in the immediate vicinity of a hook survivor, in other words, face to face, to prevent them from being rescued from the hook. Typically, this is viewed very negatively, and in many cases, it's not even a great strategy for the killer, since it allows the other 3 survivors time to focus on generators. It sometimes results in just a 1K. Proxy camping is similar to face camping, except the killer instead patrols the general area of a hooked survivor to try to catch survivors attempting a rescue, or to be in position to quickly respond to a rescue attempt. The red stain is the cone of red light that the killer emits in the survivor perspective that reveals where the killer is looking. Moonwalking is a killer strategy to hide the red stain by walking backwards around an obstacle in an attempt to trick survivors as to where they're going. Mori is short for Memento Mori, which is Latin for remember death. This refers to an offering that allows a killer to bypass hooking a survivor for the third time and kill them outright instead. Slugging is when a killer leaves the survivor in the dying state, in other words, slugged out on the ground. Snowballing occurs when the killer creates ever-increasing pressure and momentum in their favor. M1 is a shorthand term for a killer's basic attack, which comes from mouse 1 being the default control for this on PC. Baby killer or baby survivor is a term referring to an inexperienced and or low-level killer or survivor. W key is a term for moving forward in a straight line for a long period of time, forward being defaulted to W on PC. Mind game is a generic term used to describe a variety of strategies that attempt to bait or trick the other side into thinking their opponent is going to do one thing while they actually do another. The obsession is indicated by the two entity claws around the player icon and relates to certain perks and bonuses. Fun fact, you know when the obsession is being chased because the entity claws will move when the killer is chasing that survivor. Pips are tallies that you earn at the end of the trial based on performance, and they go towards leveling up your killer or survivor grade. You can earn up to 2 pips in a single trial. SWF, or SWIF, stands for Survive with Friends, meaning that you are playing together with friends on the same survivor team. KYF stands for Kill Your Friends, meaning that you are playing a custom match with your friends where one of your friends plays as the killer. A tile is a unit of measurement within the map where map elements can spawn. Skill checks are my absolute favorite part of Dead by Daylight that I definitely excel at. Dang it! Skill checks will pop up randomly while repairing generators, healing, or performing other survivor activities that must be passed in order to avoid a regression penalty and noise notification being triggered for the killer. Teachable perks. Every killer and survivor comes with 3 perks that are unique to them. However, when that character reaches level 30, 35, and 40, at each of those stages, one of the 3 unique perks becomes unlocked to be teachable to all other characters. DS stands for Decisive Strike, an anti-tunneling survivor perk. This allows a survivor that has been picked up by the killer after having just been saved from the hook to pass a skill check and both escape and stun the killer for 5 seconds. BT stands for Borrowed Time, which is another anti-tunneling survivor perk. When a survivor running Borrowed Time unhooks a survivor, the unhooked survivor gets a brief period of invulnerability to be able to escape from the killer. DH stands for Dead Hard. With this, an injured survivor can sprint forward with a brief moment of invulnerability. This can be used to escape the killer's attack or gain distance. Hex perks are high-risk, high-reward perks that are tied to one of the totems hidden on the map. The reward is that they're typically stronger than regular perks, but the risk is that generally the totem can be cleansed by survivors, thus negating the perk for the rest of the match. NOED stands for No One Escapes Death. NOED is a killer hex perk that makes all survivors exposed once the exit gates are powered, assuming there is at least 1 dull totem remaining on the map. Fair warning though, this is a pretty high sodium perk. Tastes like entitlement. Ruin stands for Hex Ruin. This is another killer hex perk that causes generators to begin regressing the moment survivors stop repairing them for any reason. Pop. This is short for Pop Goes the Weasel, which is a killer perk that allows the killer a window of time after hooking a survivor to damage a generator and immediately regress that generator's progress by a significant amount. Auric Cells are purchased with real money and can be used to purchase characters and cosmetic items in the shop. Iridescent Shards are earned by playing the game and leveling up your player account level. They can be used to purchase teachable perks, characters, and cosmetic items from the shop. Bloodpoints are earned by playing the game and are used to unlock nodes on a character's Bloodweb. The Bloodweb is made up of various connected nodes that, when unlocked, reward various items, add-ons, offerings, and perks, as well as leveling up the character. Well everyone, I hope you learned something from that today and can now spend more time playing the game than trying to figure out what it is everyone's talking about. In just a moment, I'm going to roll some bloopers. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, it would really help me out if you'd also leave a like and a comment down below. And if you'd like to see more content from me in the future, and you haven't already, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Just remember, you're awesome. Stay awesome. Now let's roll some bloopers. There's a freaking fly in here. Screw up one of my shots, I'm going with a well-timed dead hard, and then make sure to mind game at the god pallet. Holy crap, that's still molten. Let's get started. Freaking fly. I just burned my tongue. Crap. Sweet nectar of life. Before you go, here's a video that I think you would like, and then over here's a video that YouTube thinks you would like. Why not watch both and then come back and tell me which one of us knows you better?